On today's episode of Social Justice Warriors talk about what they have no idea about to include the Space Force or anything military related. This is Sarah Jones's take on that. This is under the New York Magazine Intelligencer, which I would say, I'm going to preface, there's not much intelligence going on with this. It probably should be thrown in a dumpster fire somewhere, but we'll digress. We'll actually take you through why I think that. Her article reads, "Abolish the Space Force." You caught my attention there. Upon taking office in January, President-elect Joe Biden will have many responsibilities in the pandemic, solve the recession, rebuild the country. Even so, I submit my humble request for his attention. Mr. Biden, I beg you, abolish the Space Force. I'm sure this is probably going somewhere great because the political agenda is already being pushed within the first sentence of the entire thing. On Friday, the Space Force made its strongest case yet for its demise. In a series of tweets, it revealed a new motto and name to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I present. Today, after a year-long process that produced hundreds of submissions and research involving space professionals and members of the general public, we can finally share with you the name which we will be known, Guardians. Would you like to know more? Unfortunately, I would. The mind simply races. I infer from this tweet that we created an entire branch of the military to guard the Western civilization from critical race theory. Is this the Space Confederacy? I think where she goes wrong with this entire idea that it's only the Western civilization that we're protecting. If you looked at, for example, the U.S. Navy, where do we mostly operate while our ships are out at sea? International waters. And there's nowhere in space that is claimed right now, so it's international space area. We have no land there. We have no land on Mars, nowhere else. So it's kind of absurd to say that space would be any different than from the seas. And obviously at one point we're going to be navigating the seas just as much as we will space at some point, especially because we have SpaceX. She then continues on with a tweet from the Space Force which reads the following. The opportunity to name a force is a momentous responsibility. Guardians is a name with a long history in space operations, tracking back to the original command motto of Air Force Space Command in 1983, Guardians of the High Frontier. Alas, this tweet does not answer any of the questions its predecessor inspired. I don't want to know why they're called Guardians. I would like to know more, such as who was in charge of this decision. We already have National Guardsmen and Coast Guardsmen. Nobody could think of anything original. Maybe Stormtrooper was too obvious, and not just because we're talking about troops in space. This motto invites certain historical comparisons. Are you really upset that they're called Guardians? There's like Guardians of the Galaxy. But give them a break, man. It's just the name Guardians. She references another tweet that says, the name Guardians connects our proud heritage and culture to the important mission we execute 24/7, protecting the people and interests of the U.S. and its allies. And she does continue to say on her opinion here, but still, I would like to know more. What will those uniforms look like? Sarah, if you're this in tune with Space Force, you would know that they already do have a uniform. The name tapes are different. Just looks like the Air Force, just has Space Force on it. A little Google research would have done that for you. You had to use a computer to make this article, which means you probably have the internet to upload your article, and which means you probably have the ability to use Google. How will rank work? Well, let's see. They haven't changed anything. They've crossed people over from the Air Force, which they've already noted on their website, also with people that were indoctrinated into the service, where they've already mentioned their ranks, and they have matched that of the Air Force. There's been no new official ranks made up yet. I swear, people like this think, poof, they've been on the earth for like 20, 30 something years, and they think that like a military branch just poops out, bam, you've got every instruction, regulation, rank, and everything that you could ever think of right there in front of you. Yes, we've made several different branches before, but they all do not have the same challenges or aspirations or missions entirely. Will the rest of the military ever take the Space Force seriously? I do, so yeah, I guess you could say that. And since the Space Force is a brand new branch, to what could culture and heritage possibly refer? They have none. There isn't a single U.S. Guardian who has done anything but push a pencil around a desk, because there aren't any Guardians, nor there be if the incoming White House listens to me. Well, Sarah, I'm going to guarantee they're probably not going to listen to you. Your military experience hasn't gone too far. So I read the mission, the heritage, the culture, and all that, and I said, Sarah, You're right. They haven't done anything. We just started this. How is there any heritage? Then I looked back, 1960, Neil Armstrong, prior naval pilot that fought in the Korean War, which was an engineer and was doing crazy things for NASA. Then I also reflected on current day where you have Johnny Kim, which is the prior Navy SEAL turned medical doctor turned astronaut, like Ken the Barbie doll in human version that's done everything. So while, yes, a lot of this has not related to heritage of space directly, I do think that it has embodied some military service across other branches as well, because you forget, Sarah, where it originated from, which was from the Air Force. And on top of that, there are other branches that have cyber commands as well. Psh, go figure! Also, Sarah, I would hope that your reference to pushing a pencil around a desk was not too literal, because we're talking about the Space Force. Probably deals with intelligence, probably has to have a computer. They're not learning technology from the Stone Age and working their way up. There's probably already a base knowledge because, like I said, other commands, other branches have brought people over to this service. So it's probably not like we're starting from scratch. She continues to write, I hope that aliens are real, and I hope they're on their way to this planet, abduct me, and in so doing, spare me from thinking about the Space Force ever again. This is the dumbest in the entire world. It would be the dumbest in the entire galaxy. And honestly, you will be our first token person to be abducted once we have official communications with them, and we know how to speak their language, and we'll make sure that you are the first person to be launched up into their little space shuttle and taken away. And this is where I have an issue. Sarah has no idea about the military in general or why the Space Force exists, when a lot of this can also deal with intelligence, which she thinks that like we're still fighting a battle like World War II, where you look back at how our technology has advanced from then until now is insane. And it would be naive to ever think that we would not need to be on all fronts of this. If anything, I would have to commend the U.S. military for this, because normally I joke about the military having such a reactionary force to everything and a knee-jerk reaction as we, pile through leadership issues and everything else on this channel. As of this making of this video, I would hope that we are trying to be on the cutting edge of technology of the next battlefront that we would have to be on. Not to mention, earlier this year, they mentioned that aliens are real, and no one gave a shit because COVID-19. And Sarah takes to Twitter here to make sure that she makes her opinions even more valid from her great military experience. Not bad. Please educate yourself on why Space Force exists and how people like myself work their ass off developing space vehicles and satellites to keep you safe from nefarious nations. Good luck, do better. Sounded not too bad or a little constructive, just saying do better. You should probably educate yourself a little bit more before you start writing idiotic articles about like you know everything about the military. And then she responds, Google suggests he works for a defense contractor. LOL. Go figure. He's making space vehicles. He told you that. I don't think that there's any private companies right now that I could think of, really besides SpaceX, that's trying to even make something to that level or capacity. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I'm just not too well educated on it. I will admit that, unlike our friend Sarah Jones right here. And she continues to bash and say, I apologize for insulting our great nation's newest slush fund for defense contractors. Sarah, if that was your original point against the military-industrial complex, you should have just titled the article that of Space Force contributing to the military-industrial complex. This is dumb. And that would have maybe given you some more credibility than bashing the uniforms, the slogan, and the little bit of visuals that went along with it, really having no opinion other than this is dumb and you want to be protected from aliens. And Sarah tries to make more of a credible statement here by saying, my fiance, a former Marine, enjoyed this one particularly. We know the last time how that worked out when someone tried to claim their significant other as a Marine.
He's a Marine. First to fight, he's loyal. Honor, courage, commitment. Core values simplify. Oorah, he's a Marine.
I'm sorry, I scarred you guys' brains one more time with that same meme. At least I live in a country that I have the right to do as I please and not read crap. I fought in blood for your right to keep writing crap. You're welcome. I will say, for this type of article, in this context, I really don't care if you serve the country to let her write. I serve the country to let her write. I'm just having the right to come back at her as a freedom of speech because I love the fact that she's just giving me this glorious content I've been able to stumble upon. And Sarah, let's just add this to it. Before you start writing some idiotic articles about the military ever again, could we just have you please write your boyfriend, fiance that was a former Marine that probably has a more educated opinion than you? If anything, he's more qualified to write this article than you. And I'm going to end this whole video off with this to show you how much Sarah is willing to talk about her differences in opinion. Miss Jones, I recently read your New York article on the Space Force and would like to offer some context to several of your points, if you're interested, respectfully. Sarah just writes back, no. God, this girl's got 54,000 followers on Twitter, and I hope not all 54,000 listen to it. But this is where we get to this part of the whole video where we say, what do you guys think about people talking about the military and they have no idea? What are your thoughts on Space Force? Because honestly, at first, jokingly, it sounds crazy. As I've learned more about it, there is a website about Space Force where you can learn about their mission. I've talked to people that are now in the Space Force as well to understand how they've been educated. To be honest, being in the military, you're not too far from the tree and you can actually find some good information. Also, Sarah, Google is a thing. I want to know what this looks like in the future. And as always, if you guys do have questions about this or anything else, you can hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, or down in the comments below. Love you guys. I'll see you next time.